Okay, so good afternoon, beautiful people. This is the Day and Night Podcast with your host, Matthew, aka The Truth. All right, so I'm pretty sure you can already see we're missing somebody. So Mark is on vacation yet again. He's in South Carolina um, at our cousin's wedding. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it, so he's there, and so we're gonna go ahead and push forward with this episode 48. We have a good one for you. This may touch a little people a certain type of way, but just bear with me. I promise you it's a good topic. So today we're going to go over self-love. It's something I feel as though that's very, 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 very important. I hear a lot of people talk about it. I talk about it sometimes, and I believe that sometimes people are kind of not 100% sure what self-love is. So that's what we're going to talk about. For those of you that are watching, I ask you to like, comment, and subscribe if you can. And okay, so we're going to get into it. All right. So, like I said, today's topic is going to be self-love. So self-love is, as most topics, it's relative. So some people may see self-love as basically, I'll call it self-care. That's buying stuff for yourself, taking yourself out on a date, being nice to yourself, and so to speak. But it's more to it than that. So I have about 8 attributes, characteristics, however you want to look at it, that really determines or can give the foundation of what self-love is. So this one touched me to my, I don't say to my heart, but this one is serious for me because it's something that I take 100% serious. It's something I don't play with. I'm still evolving as a person, and I know that I have grown, and I know that I have a lot of self-love. Some people see it as I've been told I was a narcissist, or I have narcissist not capabilities, but characteristics. Some people see it as arrogant. Some people see it as cockiness, but it's not. It's just I know who I am. I'm going through the fire, so to speak, and I love who I am, and I love who I'm becoming. So I walk with confidence, and I'm at a place in my life where I'm not going to allow anything or anybody to separate myself from where I'm going and knowing who I am, if that makes sense. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So the first one is self-acceptance. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what the self-acceptance is. So basically, self-love begins with accepting yourself for who you are, with all your strengths and weaknesses. It's about acknowledging your imperfections and understanding that they are a part of what makes you unique. So that's something that I feel as though it took me a while to really understand and understand. Was not going too far in depth, but just giving everybody a backstory. And I'm pretty sure Mark may have a different perspective. And that's why it's called Day and Night. But he have a different perspective as far as how he saw us growing up and what we went through and so forth. By any means, we didn't go through, a bad childhood. We wasn't physically abused or anything like that. I kind of teeter on the line of mental abuse, just for the simple emotional abuse, just for the way my mom was with my dad, rest in peace. And at a young child, such a young age, I didn't realize the damage that it was causing, as I was growing up. Without going too far into it, not like throwing my mom under the bus or anything like that. She had her issues with Black men. And she would say certain things to my dad that anybody would seem inappropriate and damaging to, young Black males growing up. She would basically tell my dad that, Black men ain't shit and white men is better. So just think about that for a minute and how that could damage a young child at such a young age. And like I was saying, like growing up, I didn't realize it, I didn't embrace it at the time. But while it was happening, it was actually doing damage subconsciously. So, and, just growing up, I was real thin. Me and Mark was real skinny. And that was something that I looked at as that it was like a disadvantage. I felt a certain type of way because other kids in our neighborhood was a little bit bigger as far as weight wise. I'd never played sports. Now we played sports in the street. We was real good at basketball, multi-talented, athletic. We could play football, basketball, track. My dad tried to get us in baseball, but that's just something I wasn't feeling. And I don't think Mark was that much either, but that's something my dad tried to push. But anyway, so I just felt as though I wasn't where I should have been at a certain age. And I looked at myself in a certain way that was negative on top of the subconscious things that I was hearing, that my mom was saying to my dad. So on top of that, those two things, it basically was growing inside of me, low self-esteem and really not loving myself for who I was. So I didn't accept myself for who I was. I mean, I don't think any young child would. Maybe now, maybe a little bit different, but I don't think any young child would at that, such a young age can accept who they are and know who they are, because you get children picking on you at school or in the neighborhood or whatever the case is. So that can be damaging to, a person's psyche. So just growing up, like I said, hearing that stuff from what my mom was saying, the issues that I had with my weight, that, like I said, subconsciously was putting me in a space of not loving myself. So as I got older and, you hang out with your friends and stuff like that, and you get into things that's probably not appropriate. We started drinking at a young age, malt liquor, for all the old school heads out there, Odie, St. Ives, Private Stock, you name it. We was getting it on the weekend and was drinking heavily, like a 40 ounce, knocking them out, 2, 3 at a time, maybe. So I was already adding more damage to myself by drinking alcohol and stuff like that, because it's depressant. So that didn't help the situation. So, just getting older, and not growing the way I was supposed to and having that self-esteem and that self-love for myself, it basically, I don't say it taught me, but it kind of raised me in a sense of I kind of disrespected people because I didn't know who I was. I didn't love myself. So if you don't love yourself, in my opinion, it's no way you can love somebody else, because everybody's a reflection of their thoughts and who they are. So if I'm treating myself bad, or if I don't feel good about myself, then I look at other people and don't feel a certain way about them, or don't respect them because I don't respect myself. So that led me to, getting into relationships and stuff and not knowing how to be in a relationship, not knowing how to care for a woman, not knowing how to treat a woman, not knowing how to love a woman, because I couldn't love myself. So how can I love, someone else? And looking back at it now, I can see the damage that I'd done to like my ex-wife. If I knew who I were at that time, and if I had love for myself, I hate to say this, but I'm just being honest, I probably never would have married her, because not saying that she's a bad person or anything like that, but we're just polar opposites and we just weren't compatible, so I had the wrong reasons why I wanted to date her. She was in the gym like I was in the gym. I love legs. I'm a leg man. And she had some killer legs. And I was like, damn, man, that's nice. Boy, I definitely want to hit that. Like I said, it may sound bad, but that's just how I was at that time. So, and that's what I did. I went for it. And I was seeing somebody else at the same time. Um, and she walked in one day when I was with the other young lady. And she looked at me and she was like, wow, really, man? And she walked out. And I'll never forget this. She was like, you need to make a choice. It's either me or her. Now, this is just the low state of mind and vibration and all that stuff I was in at the time. Now, the other female I was with, we weren't having sex and like nothing like that. It was somebody that I really could kick it with. We had good times together. I could joke. I could really be myself. But she just wasn't like, she wasn't having sex. But my ex-wife was. So low vibration of me, low state of mind, I went with, who was giving the sex. And so I chose her. And 15 years later, the marriage didn't work out. I stepped out on her numerous times. I was out in Germany at the red light district up in Frankfurt. Anybody that been to Germany or overseas, y'all know what the red light district is. If you don't know, there's basically, it's legal prostitution over there, and they have them all over the place. So at night, when the red light is on, that's where you know where the spot is. And the difference with over there than here is it's like an occupation. It's legal. So they all had to be not drug tested. They had to be STD tested. So everything was legit. Like you couldn't really get an STD unless somebody was just off the chain over there. And I was in those stores like candy, and again, because I didn't love myself, I didn't know who I was living recklessly, on top of the drinking alcohol, the promiscuous, extramarital affairs and stuff like that. I was out there, and at the time I didn't realize it. I just thought I was doing me. I thought I was cool. I thought I was, just being a man, not realizing I was hurting myself and I was damaging myself. So I said all that to say this. Oh, this is the other thing too. I was like addicted to porn. I was like a masturbator king. Just you name it, I was out there. I was just seriously abusing myself. Like I said, I didn't have any self-love for myself. And it was obvious in the way that I was acting. And that's what I believe some people don't realize is when you don't have self-love for yourself, it shows in different areas of your life. So the way you treat other people with one, in the way you treat yourself will automatically tell a person that that individual don't have self-love for themselves. Because once you really learn to love yourself, then you treat people differently. I'm a firm believer in if you cannot love yourself, there's no way on this God's green earth that you can love somebody else. And I say all the time that there's like two different type of loves. I call it 3D love, three-dimensional, and then there's universal love, agape, if you're Christian or whatever. And the 3D love is basically, the material, money. I call it the five senses: see, hear, feel, touch, and taste. So that's everything that's in front of you is tangible. So I believe that most people have that type of love, and they're not at that universal godly love yet, that Christ-like love. And I'm a firm believer, and that's what our true purpose is here. Most people, I believe, that they believe that the goal is to get the most money, get the best type of house, the cars, the businesses and stuff like that. That's all good. That's living the human experience, but that's not the purpose. Like the purpose is to grow and learn what true love is. And that first starts with you. That starts with yourself. And I was thinking about this today, and I'm just being straight up. I was never taught how to love. I just want everybody out there to think about it and comment if you're watching. Has your parents taught you how to love? Like, how do people know how to love? Do we learn how to love from TV? Do we learn how to love from our parents, which should be the number one way of learning? But like, have anybody seriously like set you down and said, okay, let me teach you about love. This is what love is. Love first starts with yourself. You can't love somebody else until you love yourself first. So I never had that. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just being transparent. I'm being real. I never was taught. Again, Mark may have a different answer. My other siblings may have a different answer. But for me, I don't ever remember my mom sitting me down and said, okay, let me teach you about love. Excuse me. I know we went to church and you hear, through the pastor and through the Bible and stuff like that. But as far as like really being sat down and just taught what love is, I never was taught that. So, like I said, just growing up and being in all the things that I was into, I never loved myself. So it's no way I could express that love to anybody else. And, that's what that first one is self-acceptance, is just accepting yourself for who you are. I couldn't accept myself for who I was, when I was growing up. I'm gonna say I hated myself, but I disliked myself. And so I thought by doing certain things that would bring a feeling of satisfaction or a feeling of love. And it didn't. Like I said, I was hurting myself. And that's what most people don't realize, is if you don't love yourself, then how do you love somebody else? Okay, so now the second one is positive self-image. Developing a positive self-image is crucial. This means feeling good about your physical appearance, but it also extends into appreciating your personality, skills, and achievements. So I already spoke about how I wasn't comfortable with the way I looked and stuff like that. Now, bodybuilding was always a desire of mine, and it was a passion. It was something I always wanted to do, but still a small part of me wanted to do it because I felt as though that's the only way I would be accepted and I would feel good about myself, is if I looked a certain type of way. And, you see it, certain type of men get certain type of attention from women and even from men. So if you want to believe it or not, if you ain't like 6'3", 6'4", you got pecs that's crazy, there's six-pack, biceps, you hung or whatever the case is, a lot of women will look past you. I'm not saying all women, but a lot of women will. So as a young male growing up and you seeing this and they promote all that stuff, on TV and entertainment and society, it kind of put in the back of your minds like, man, I'm not good enough. So maybe if I do this, then I'll be accepted. So just knowing who you are and just accepting who you are and just embracing that and saying, you know what, it doesn't matter. I am who I am. This is how I was made. I accept me for me, regardless what the world says. I'm going to love me for me. And if nobody else can love me for me, then it is what it is. But I know it starts with me first, and I'm going to embrace that, and I'm going to appreciate it. So, self-image is big. And not to attack women, but I think women kind of deal with it a little bit more so than men. And we kind of spoke on this last week. For me, I just feel as though society is putting out what women are supposed to look like. And like I said, I don't know about every other place, but here in Atlanta, from what I've seen, majority of the women, more so Black women, that got the fake hair, the lashes, all the makeup and stuff like that. And they feel as though that's what beauty is. And they feel confident and good about themselves. And on actuality, it really, to me, it doesn't say that you are, because you're putting on a mask and that's not truly who you are. So can you truly look in the mirror when you get up and say, I don't care what society says, I love the way I look. I'm a beautiful woman. I don't need all the makeup. I don't need the extra hair. I don't need the 12-inch eyelashes, and I'm accepting me for me. So I think women deal with it a little bit more so than men, but men do too, just not at that level, I believe. So self-image is big. It's just something that, again, that goes along with loving yourself. So I believe, like, if these attributes was given to children when they was growing up and taught, okay, this is what you should have, this is how you should approach it, I think more people would not have lack of self-love. Okay. So, okay, moving on to the next one. Self-compassion. These are some good ones. These are some good ones. Self-compassion, being compassionate toward yourself, means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. It involves forgiving yourself for mistakes and not being overly critical. Now, I'm guilty to this to an extent, and I remember I went and seen a Reiki specialist. I don't know if anyone know what Reiki is. That's energy work, and that's basically the person is standing over you, they hover over you, and they go over all the contact points, and they can feel your energy and stuff like that based off the chakras. So anyway, so I went to this specialist, and I sat down, they do a consultation, they talk to you and stuff like that. So she went and did her, her work, energy work. And when we was finished, she said, you don't have compassion for yourself. And this is what's funny about it, because I was told, like, I don't have compassion, like my heart chakra was closed and I'm not compassionate about other people and stuff like that. I'm just too hard. And I told her that. She said, no, I don't see that. It's not that. You're not compassionate with yourself. You're too hard on yourself. And that's exactly how I was. I still am to an extent, but not at that level. And I just was not being compassionate with certain things that I went through, making bad decisions or whatever the case is. Instead of just saying, you know what, you made a bad decision, learn from it, dust yourself off, pick yourself up and keep moving and just learn from the mistakes that you made. So I never really did that. I always beat myself up, like, oh man, I can't believe I made that decision. That was dumb. This is going to affect me for a long period of time. So I would just contemplate it for days and stuff like that. So I wasn't compassionate with myself, but I was compassionate with other people. They would say or do something, and I would say, nah, don't worry about it. They probably did this for whatever X reason, whatever the case is. I was more compassionate with other people than I were with myself. And that was damaging. Again, I wasn't loving myself. So part of loving yourself is being compassionate, not beating yourself up if something goes wrong. If you're at work and, you screw up and make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. Or if something happens and, things is just getting out of order and it's chaotic, and you're like, man, I can't believe this. And you go home and you're like, I can't believe this is happening to me. What am I doing wrong? And a lot of times it's probably not you. It's probably somebody else. But you're not, being lenient with yourself and having compassion. So that's another attribute that's really, really needed in order to have love for yourself and grow in love. Okay. All right. So now the next one is setting boundaries. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. So setting boundaries. Self-love includes setting healthy boundaries in your personal and professional life. Okay, I'm gonna make sure people hear that. And professional life, it means recognizing when you need to say no to protect your well-being and prioritize your self-care. Now, this one I've come to learn. And like I said, I've been criticized, I've been called narcissistic and arrogant, all type of stuff, because I'm at a point now where I have boundaries. I don't care who it is, mother, father, daughter, son, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, nephew, cut, it doesn't matter. I will never put someone else before me if it compromises my safety, my health, my well-being, and my state of mind. Because I'm at a point now where I love myself enough to where I'm not going to be used by somebody that don't have respect for me and can't see me and accept me for who I am. So I think a lot of people, and I've seen this when I was in the military and even out the military, a lot of people, especially at professional level, they don't know how to set boundaries, especially like if you're an employee and you have a supervisor or the boss or whatever, owner, whatever you want to call it, and they're asking you to do certain things and it's just things you don't feel comfortable with. And because they're over you, sometimes you might feel as though, man, I can't say what I want to say. I'm afraid to tell them no because I don't want to lose my job, or I don't want them to think that I'm not a good worker. I'm not part of the team. I was always told, hey, T, you're not being part of the team. And I was like, well, I'm sorry you see that, but it's just some boundaries I'm not going to cross. There's certain things I'm not going to do because now I'm at a point to where I love and respect myself. And I know I'm not going to put myself in a position that's going to be damaging to me. And I just feel as though a lot of people are not putting themselves in that position to not be used. And I think as far as not professional, but personal too. I think I see it more so with parents and children, whereas, especially if it's a parent, let's say it's the dad, for example, if he, separated like I did from my wife, ex-wife, and you may feel obligated to do certain things for your child because you don't want them to feel as though, well, you weren't here, you the one that left, so you need to do this for me. And sometimes that put that parent at a disadvantage because they don't want to say no and they don't want to be too harsh because they don't want to lose the love of that child or the relationship. So they'll compromise their well-being, just because they don't want to be perceived a certain way. And that's crazy. I have boundaries for my children. I have boundaries for my siblings. I'm just going to be honest. I had an incident with, my older brother before he passed. May he rest in peace. But he overstepped my boundaries as far as saying certain things to me and talking about me a certain type of way. Just because you're my older brother does not allow you to treat me a certain way and talk to me a certain way. Just because you have seniority over me because of age and experience, you still got to respect the person regardless. You got to respect them for who they are. And he didn't do that. So I didn't talk to him for a while. I think I seen him once before he transitioned. And that's just something that, like I said, I'm at a point in my life to where I love myself first. Because if I don't love myself first, then no one else is going to love me. So I just have boundaries set in place that I'm not going to allow to be used by anybody. My older sister, a while back, said burn in hell. To some people, they might be like, well, she may have said it because she was upset or whatever the case is. You can't hold that against her. There's other issues. I'm going to put her business out there. That's the reason why she did it. She apologized and she was like, don't wear it to my heart, wear it to my brain or something to that aspect. But I look at it different only because we're older. Like I said, I went through the trials. I went through that stage of not loving myself. So I've grown. So at no point I'm going to call somebody out their name. I'm going to disrespect somebody because I'm upset. That's childish and it's immature. As an older adult, you should be mature enough and seasoned enough to know that you don't verbally attack somebody. You definitely don't physically attack nobody, but you don't verbally attack them either. So like I said, I know somebody out there like, that's too much. You're just being sensitive. No, it's just, like I said, I have boundaries in place and I love myself enough that I'm not going to allow anyone to disrespect me. And I heard this saying before, and I'm pretty sure everyone else may have heard of it too. What you allow somebody, how you allow somebody to treat you, or what you let them do is how they're going to treat you. So if someone disrespects you any certain type of way, and if you're accepting of it and you just brush it off, in my opinion, and say, as they just said it because they were upset or whatever, they're going to continue to do it because nothing was said. Them by saying that is already letting you know that they're not a healed individual. So only time people say certain things like that, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever, is because that person is unhealed. So that's why having self-love for yourself is important, because a healed person that has love for themselves is not going to disrespect people. I don't know if anybody out there ever been around somebody that you can just feel that they're a good person, the way they speak to you, the way they speak to everybody else, the way they carry themselves. And I'm sure that's somebody that truly loves themselves. They are healed and they know how I treat other people is affecting them, but it's affecting me more than it's affecting them. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. When you treat people a certain type of way, it's more damaging to you than it is to that person. Because some people would take it and hold on to it like I used to when I was younger. But then you have some people would just react off of it. And then once you said it, okay, they squash it or whatever and move on. But then you're stuck with that. Then you're stuck with, I can't believe that person said this or did that. And they make me sick. Every time you see them, you have a certain feeling in you, your energy is getting high, and it's making you feel a certain type of way. So you're the one that's going to deal with that more so than the other one. So, that's why it's important that people get healed, and just loving yourself first. Okay, let me see if I got any comments on here, because I know I've seen one. Okay. You'll have to bear with me. This thing is acting up on me. Okay, Katie just says she was never taught how to love. I looked at what I saw in the movies and TV. And that's, I think most people do. KJ said, hurt people will hurt people. Yeah, that's what they say. That's definitely true. But the question is, why is that? I truly believe that hurt people, it comes from self-love. I'm just a firm believer in that. There's no way anybody can tell me that you love me, but you don't love yourself. Like you can see that the behaviors by people that you can see like, man, that person really don't love themselves. But yet they can turn around and say, I love you. Well, at least that's me. I don't know about anybody else, but I pay attention. And if I see somebody, and this may rub somebody the wrong way, but it just is what it is, someone that abuses alcohol, drugs, sex, excessive buying, impulsive buying, there's something missing. A lot of that stuff, that some people believe that it validates them and it makes them feel good. It's like it's taking a place of that love, if that makes sense. And that's how I was. So I'm speaking from experience, from personal experience. And so I walked it, like I said, and I see where I'm at now. And I know once a person starts to love themselves, all that stuff falls off. Like I said, the masturbation stuff fell off, the pornography fell off, the promiscuous fell off. All that stuff fell off. It's because I started realizing, okay, I need to accept myself for who I am. I need to have compassion for myself. I need to start setting boundaries for myself. Once I began doing those things, then I, became more loving of myself. And, like I was saying earlier, people dog me out and say I'm too stoic and I'm too serious and stuff like that. It's not that. It's just I know who I am and I love myself. I am not putting myself in any position to be taken advantage of. Okay, now this is the one I want to really focus on a little bit. Self-care. Okay, self-care is taking care of your physical and mental health. It's a key component of self-love. This can include regular exercise, a balanced diet, getting enough rest, engaging activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Now, this is just my opinion. I may be wrong, but from my observation, I believe most people believe self-care means self-love. And not all the attributes that they mentioned in that self-care. I truly believe most people believe that self-care is buying stuff for themselves, treating themselves out. Sometimes somebody might throw, the gym and stuff in there, or, that, or women is taking care of their hair, keeping their nails up, dressing nice. A lot of people believe, well, that's my self-care, so I love myself. That's one element to a whole bunch of different attributes. So there has to be more focus on all the other 7 than just that one, which is self-care. So, and this is something I was thinking about that I want to take my time with, but really get across. Okay, so with the self-care, with the mental health aspect of it, I was totally against seeing a psychiatrist when I was growing up, when I was younger, a young adult. I was like, man, that's for the birds. Them jokers are fakes. There ain't nothing real about it. And I refused to see one. And then it wasn't until I was put in a situation to where I had to see one, and best thing ever happened to me. It literally opened my eyes to who I was at the time and who I needed to become. Now, I'm not there yet, but I'm a hell of a lot better than I was back then. So what I'm getting at is recognizing, okay, something is not right about me. I need help. And seeking that help, putting in the work to try to become a better person is much needed. Okay. So the getting the hair done, taking yourself out, taking yourself on a trip, buying new clothes, a new car, getting multiple businesses, having all these houses, that don't mean doodly squat if you're not mentally stable and level. Well, it's the same thing, but it's not going to do any benefit if you got all those things, you're doing all those other things for you, but you still having issues dealing with emotions, still have issues dealing with anger, had anger issues. So if you don't put in the work to work on yourself by seeking help, then you're doing yourself a disjustice, and you're doing your loved ones and your friends a disjustice. So self-care is not just the appearance or the outer appearance of yourself. It's internal as well. So now I want to touch on this real quick. This may sound bad, but I don't need somebody to tell me that they love me. If someone don't tell me they don't love me, it doesn't make me feel a certain type of way. I don't get mad. I don't get upset. But if it's a child, my children, the person I'm with, mom or dad, because I love myself. God is within us. God is in us. For those that follow Christianity and stuff like that, I don't know if you read the New Testament, but it speaks about Once he died and stuff, you're filled with the Holy Ghost and stuff like that. So God is within you. So in a sense, you are God. So you're walking with God. You are God. So if you take that and truly believe it, why would you allow someone to treat you a certain type of way? Why would you allow certain things to happen? Why would you abuse alcohol, abuse yourself with multiple sex partners, abuse yourself with drugs, eat the wrong type of foods? Why would a person do that? So that's how I look at it. I'm taking care of the God that's within me. So I got to make sure that I'm right. So by loving myself, I'm loving God because God is in me. God is me. So why would I not love myself first and not need to have that outside expression of it? I believe that we all supposed to love ourselves first. And then when you find somebody that has that same type of love for themselves, that's a beautiful thing that you're going to come together with. Because then you won't have to worry about, well, he need to do this. She need to do that. She need to tell me more. He need to tell me more. He need to buy me this more. He need to do this for me more. What are you doing for yourself? If you know who you are, you love yourself. It doesn't matter what anybody else says in the sense of needing that outside confirmation saying that I love you. Like I said, that's for me. That's how it works for me. I know everybody's different. So I'm not trying to say that that's how everybody needs to be, but I'm just saying that's how I see it. Like I don't need it because I love myself. That's all I need. And if you can bring the love of yourself into the relationship with me, like I said, that's a beautiful thing. That's peace. Because then we're not trying to challenge each other. Then there's expectations, but there's not crazy expectations. You just enjoy the moment. You're enjoying the company of that person because y'all both have that love for yourself. So now you're just bringing that together and you're expressing it. That's how I see it. It may sound crazy and far-fetched, but like I said, that's how I see it, and that's how I roll with it. So I know for some people it comes off as kind of cold, but I'm not a cold person. It's just that my expression of love is different, probably from the average person that you meet. Okay. All right. So the next one, mindfulness. Okay. Being present in the moment. Oh, that's my favorite thing, boy. If anybody truly know me, that's my favorite saying. I'm in the moment. I live in the moment. Everything is about the moment for me. Okay, being present in the moment and mindful of your thoughts and feelings. It's important for self-love. It helps you understand your own needs and desires. Now, that's a little bit different as far as what I'm talking about, but I don't know if that makes sense to everybody as far as just being in the moment and not overthinking things and not, looking back and saying, well, this person did this person did that. That happened in my last relationship. So now I got to be cautious about, when I'm at with this person now. Just be in the moment. Love yourself in the moment. When you get up in the morning, like, man, it's a beautiful day. I love myself. You know what, Matthew? I love you. You're a handsome young man. You're an intelligent young man. You're a strong young man. You're a respectful young man. And just embrace it, enjoy it. And then just go out and just be. That's my favorite thing, is just be. Okay. Seeking help. Sometimes self-love involves seeking help from a therapist, which I already spoke about, or a counselor when dealing with emotional or psychological challenges. Seeking support is a sign of self-compassion and self-care. So we're back to the self-care and self-compassion again. Those are the things that I look at. When I meet people, I listen to them, I observe them, excuse me. And if they are displaying certain characteristics, and you mention to that person, you know, not in a belittling type of way, but just mention it to them. Hey, you ever thought about counseling? You know, I've been in counseling before. I know it works. You know, the stuff you're dealing with, it may help to talk to somebody else or whatever the case is. And if the response is like the response I had, nah, I'm good. I don't believe in them, that they're fake, then that's a red flag. Because again, they're not having compassion for themselves. Are they truly looking at themselves in the sense of, okay, I've been told I have these issues. I know I have these issues, but you know what? I'm not going to do it anyway because I don't feel as though I need it. That's a red flag. Okay. Now, this is something that I want to talk about that I don't want to forget about. One of the biggest things I believe that a lot of people suffer with is when they're in a relationship or they're dating somebody. Most people believe because that person is doing something for them, whether they pay for them all the time for something, they give them money, or whatever the case is, a lot of people identify that as love. Again, that's what I call 3D love. It's all material, it's natural things. So sometimes just because somebody is giving you money, they're buying you stuff, that doesn't mean they love you. I've seen and been around many of people where they say they love somebody and they dog them out. As soon as they turn their back, they're dogging them out. They treat them a certain type of way, but you know what? They got you. Hey, you need this? I got you. So that person, in my mind, you have to ask yourself, is one of two things. Either that person is using that person or they don't have any self-love. It's only one of the two. There's no black and white. I mean, there's no gray area, it's black and white. Either you don't love yourself or you're using that person for whatever reason. Because if you're being abused in a situation, in a relationship, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, financially, whatever it is, and you see it and you continue to deal with it and accept it, and I hear this all the time, boy, this person was there for me. This person did that for me. I love them. So are you banking or putting your well-being, your mental health, your emotional health, even the physical and financial sometimes, you're putting all that on the line because you say you love this person and that person loves you. It's just they going through something or, you know, they just haven't gotten to that point yet. So when is it going to change? If you ask them and you talk to them and it still happens, why do you still deal with it? And I'm going to say this, when I was not bragging or anything like that, but I'm a very giving person. When I have it, I would give. I don't have any issue with it. When I was in Germany, it was one of my army buddies. He's like, hey, man, can I borrow $500? I was like, how much? No, he said, can I borrow some money? I said, how much you need? He said, about $500. I went to the ATM machine, guy that gave it to him. He said, all right, I'll pay you back. When do you want it back? I said, don't even worry about it. He's like, for real? I was like, yeah, man, don't worry about it. When I was in massage school, every class that graduated, now this is a class, I didn't know who they were. I just know it was a graduating class. I went out and brought something individually for every person in that graduating class. I did it all the time. When I was at my unit, when I was at Hand and Stones, I would buy stuff for people's birthday and bring it in and give it to them. And again, I'm not saying this to brag. My point is, just because somebody buys something for you and do stuff and give you money does not always mean that that's love. Now, don't get me wrong. I know when someone truly loves somebody, that's an expression, one of the ways of doing so. I'm not saying like if somebody loves you and they buy you stuff, do stuff for you, that means they don't love you. What I'm saying is don't let that fool you to believe that's what love is. And I'm more so speaking of people that's in toxic relationships. Now, if you're in a healthy relationship and it's a give and take from both of you, and y'all don't have no agenda, and it's not about, okay, if I buy something, then you got to buy me something. If I pay for a trip, then you got to pay for a trip. And they throw up in your face, well, I bought this for you, I paid this for you. If it's a relationship like that, then I'm sorry, that's not love. Okay. So again, I'm talking about for those that's in the toxic relationships, and the first thing that person brings up is what I do for you, or you're thinking, well, this person helped me out when I was in a bind. That doesn't mean that's love. If they're cursing you out, they're calling you names, and it happens on a consistent basis, something is wrong. Again, somebody that truly loves themselves is not going to act that way, because again, we are all reflections of each other. So how they treat you is pretty much how they treat themselves. So that's just something to think about. For me, it's not going to fool me. You're not going to tell me you love me one day, and then the next day you're telling me to burn in hell. Or then under the same sentence, you say, I love you, I care about you, but then you're telling me to burn in hell. That's not love. Come on. Like I said, I refuse to be abused because that person is not doing what they need to do to ascend. Okay? So it starts with loving ourselves first. I always say you cannot love somebody if you don't love yourself first. Okay, let me check and see. Nope, no more comments. Okay. So now moving on to positive affirmation. Okay, positive affirmation. Using positive affirmation can reinforce self-love. These are statements or beliefs that promote a positive self-image and self-worth. So I'm pretty sure everybody heard, everyone knows what affirmations are. And again, when I was younger, I never even thought about it. I didn't do it. Like I heard about it, I just thought it was ridiculous, because my older brother, Jay, he used to do that. He used to write notes to himself, paste it on his mirror. He'd have notes throughout the house and stuff. But when you think about it, every day we get affirmations. We get affirmations from advertisers. We get affirmation from entertainers, celebrities, everything, you name it. We get affirmations basically telling us how to think, how to live, how we should act, how we should respond to things. So why can't we do that with ourselves? So I've just come to learn that that's important. It helps, because it goes to your subconscious mind. We basically function off our subconscious mind. I don't know if people realize that or not. So the things that we're taking in our subconscious mind, we act on later on. So just doing positive affirmations is it does wonders. And this is something I used to do when I was in the military, when I was in Christianity and in the church. I would literally, when I get up in the morning, one of my favorite favorite quotes or scriptures was, I can do all things. Now, of course, I can do all things through Christ Jesus that strengthens me. God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. Great is he that is in me than he that is in the world. I used to say that every day when I would get up and go to PT, when I'm at lunch, coming home, or, at the end of the day. I will always just say some positive affirmation just to get me through the day and to remind myself that I am worthy, I am important, that I am valued. That's what brought me to where I'm at now, whereas I love myself, and I'm going to be frank. I'm not in South Carolina. One of the reasons is because of my car. Oh, not car, but because of money situations. But the other one is, my nephew, he's like heavily into Christianity and stuff like that now. He used to call all the time. He used to chop it up and stuff. He used to say, "You're like my father figure. I respect you, blah, blah, blah." But once he got into Christianity and we don't see eye to eye, the phone call stopped. I wrote my book, no congratulations, anything. But as soon as his wedding came up, he wanted me to show up. So I just asked myself, why should I support that? I wasn't supporting. And don't get me wrong, it's not a tit for tat. I'm not doing this out of spite or trying to be a certain type of way. That has nothing to do with it. The point I'm looking at and focusing in on is that's still a behavior, because in my mind, in a sense, he's still okay. I say I love you, but I don't respect you. And that's big for me. And this is something I want to say before I close. Like I was saying earlier, I don't need for somebody to say I love you. What I want is respect. If you seriously think about it, like I said, people would dog their children out, their spouse, friends, or whatever, and call and say, "I love you," and have no second thoughts about it. But then they don't respect you. They don't respect your time. They don't respect your place. They don't respect sometimes your financial situation, or whatever the case is. So for me, when somebody respects that and show that they respect me, that for me trumps someone saying that I love you. Because respect is part of love. That's an attribute of love, is respect. Because then you're being selfless. In a way, you're being selfless. Because you're thinking about the other person. Well, you know what? She might have something going on, so let me not trump her with what I want. Let me reach out to her and find out what it is that you want. And whatever I'm doing, I put that to the side because this is what you need right now. For me, that's respecting that person. You're thinking about their time, okay? You're thinking about whatever situation they're in. So for me, that's what I want. I'd rather have respect than love. Some of my soldiers, they hated me. They dogged me out. They talked about me behind my back. But you know what? At the end of the day, they respected me. And again, I'm going to say this. When I was in Germany, I was married 2 times. The first one, it was annulled, and it actually wasn't annulled. So she went back into the military because she was in the military prior. She went back into the military. Went to the Navy. She found out that we weren't officially married. So she wound up calling my unit, and my unit called me, and I was being investigated by CID, Criminal Investigation Division. They was going to chat me out and everything. They was going to send me to Leavenworth because they said I fraudulently signed documents and I was living 2 lives, just craziness. And it was a black Sergeant Major Etheridge. I'll never forget him. He came up to me. He said, "I know you're trying to live a double life, and I'm going to do everything in my power to see you don't get promoted and to see you get put out the Army." For that year, when I was being investigated, I killed it. No, they couldn't touch me. Long story short, I was exonerated. I went back home. I got divorced, came back, worked for the same Sergeant Major that said he didn't like me. He thought I was doing this and that. Before he PCS, permanent change of station, he was having a going away ceremony. And he invited me to go. I thought about it. Nah, I'm not going. So one of my soldiers like, "Hey, Sergeant T." He's like, "Sergeant Major Etheridge is looking for you." He said, "You know what, man? He said some great things about you." And he was just looking at me up and down. He's like, "Yeah, man, he said some great things about you. I seen him in passing before he left." He said, "Sergeant Tompkins, I want to apologize. I was wrong about you. And you are outstanding NCO. And if anything I do before I leave, I want to make sure you get promoted to Staff Sergeant." So the point I'm trying to make is he respected me. He didn't like me. He didn't care for me, but he respected me. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want. You can say you love me all day, but if you don't show respect, then it means nothing. But to say all that, I'm gonna wrap it up. So hopefully everyone got something out of this. Hopefully no one took this as a rant. I was being transparent about, my life. So I want everybody to know this is not just me trying to come across as, that I'm better than anybody else and I got it all together. Like I said, I'm still working. I'm not a proven, so I was about to say proven commodity. I'm not a finished product yet, but I know I'm going to get there because where I came from, I'm no longer that person. So anybody that knows me, don't take anything personal. I just love me. And I'm always going to put my love in front of anything else. Okay. So just know that self-love is not about arrogance. Okay. It's not about narcissism. Okay. It's about recognizing your inherent worth and treating yourself with the kindness and respect that every individual deserves. Cultivating self-love can lead to improved, and I say this, improved mental health, emotional well-being, better relationships, and a more fulfilling life. When you truly meet somebody that has self-love for themselves, I almost guarantee you that relationship is going to be golden. So beautiful people, love yourself, respect yourself, and then that love can do nothing but reach out to everybody else. So I hope y'all enjoy the rest of this evening. Again, check us out. Check us out. Check us out on Spotify. It'll be posted every Wednesday. And just a little admin note, I have 4 guests just lined up for the month of November, from mental health to spirituality. I forget the other 2, but we got 4 professionals that's coming on. So please tune in. We got some more good stuff coming for you. And like I said, just remember, beautiful people, your thought becomes your belief and your belief becomes your reality, or you create your reality. With that, I love you. Mark will be back next week.